All right, guys, what's happening? I don't want to keep you guys waiting, but hey, it is late night, and if you're tired, go to bed. Watch it tomorrow. But this is for all the insomniacs and those who are diehard news hounds. Actually, it's kind of like the dog with the dog that's always excited if you got a little bone or something. He is I got to get that. That's the way I am. But anyways, I wanted to come on late because this is, I've got so much going on. It's hard to get away sometimes, And I just shoveled down something really quick and got myself a little cup of coffee, late night coffee. Can you believe that? Because I can sleep even if I drink coffee. They say that people have, what is it, ADHD or ADD? What do they call it? ADHD. They drink coffee and they calm down. I don't actually get calm, but it doesn't keep me awake. But what's going on in the news is pretty crazy. There's a lot happening right now. I just kind of wanted to cover for those who are going to be watching in the archives. All of you who are watching in the archives, just wanted to say hello to everybody out there. Debbie at Apache Beard says, I took a long nap today while it rained. So he's good or she's good. I'm not sure if you're a she or a he. So I said she. Oh, Becky, what did I say? Yes. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to do that, Becky. So we are chronicling what's happening right now as it's unfolding. And yes, they are talking about tribunals. Now, this was a talk going back to the 2000 and first term of Trump, especially amongst the Q people, the Q conspiratorial community, they would say. And I've told you that I think that the Q messaging was actually more of a psyop, and it was a military operation that was going on behind the scenes. So I was very much, and I think that everything that happened with Biden was really scripted. They were probably installed on purpose. I'm talking about Biden's for the theater production of ushering Trump back in. That's what I think. And they were duped, and they didn't even understand probably what was, if they did collude in some way knowingly, then this is all scripted for them to take the fall. But are they actually aware of really what is going on, like the Obamas, the Bidens? There's so much corruption that's going on. Now, look at what's happening in the news. So Trump reposts on his Truth Social this picture of Obama talking to him. And then the caption that says, if you want to see tribunals, how did it go there? Let me make sure I got it right here. It said, all roads lead to Obama. Retruth if you want public military tribunals. Now, Trump reposted that. Why did he do that? Because this is red meat to the MAGA movement, and also for all those that were the Q followers as well. Because I think that right at this point, he needs to confirm who he really is. He needs to push forward his brand, and this is a part of the brand, because there's a lot of people now wondering about who Trump really is, especially in the conservative Christian movement, with all the talk of his parallels to Antichrist. Whether he's aware of it or not, there are a lot of people that are chronicling things that are being done, especially on the global scene. But there's many things that kind of piqued a lot of people's interest early on about these parallels to biblical prophecy. Maybe he's wanting to, in some way, go back to the good old days of unfolding major distractions, major happenings. Because if your mind is occupied with these things, you've got to wrestle back the narrative, especially if it's online trending. These are trending topics that they need to, and these are topics that people are not going to let go of real easy, especially if they're people of faith and that have kind of a curiosity about these events unfolding technologically, militarily, all of these things that are happening in the Middle East and how it all lines up with biblical prophecy. And, the ecumenical movement that Trump seemed to be endorsing and being hailed as some major power and leader in the world by all of the Middle East, and including Israel, because Israel seems to be, normally Israel would be in control and, behind the scenes in great control of what's happening here in the United States. I'll just say that. The silent influence from behind the scenes would have been exerted tremendously on any president except for Trump. Now, Trump, I think, manipulated and deceived the powers that be, especially the Israeli powers, into thinking that he was with them and for them all along, for the purpose and the plan of ultimately betraying. That's the way I saw it from the get-go, that he was doing all this. This is why I was probably the only one talking about this, that he would do this, because it lines up with biblical prophecy too. It also lines up perfectly with the covenant with many, the Abraham Accords, the Abraham faith, the faith house that they have right there in Abu Dhabi, that whole erection of that whole movement that connects to the Abraham Accords. If he truly is the one fitting the narrative there, he would betray Israel, and he's also going to betray all the Christians, all those that are behind him, evangelicals. So get ready, evangelicals. And this is why they might be pushing this narrative of going back to make good on their promises, because it doesn't seem like there's a real track record of promises made, promises kept. Do you see that disconnect? Where did the first term, nothing seemed to be coming through, even though it looked good. It kind of reminds me of my parents when I was younger. One of my younger brother, he would, they said he used to eat like a bird. He would eat like a bird. He always looked like he was eating, but nothing ever disappeared off his plate. And it was just kind of funny because it looked good, but he never was really eating anything. It's like Trump, it looked good, and he said a lot of good things, a lot of things that we liked, but nothing ever really panned out. It either was disannulled, it was thwarted, and I have to wonder if it was thwarted on purpose, because really there was never really an intention to go all the way, and or it was walked back. Now, Trump recently made statements about the tariffs and saying that, no, you don't have to pay. You're not going to be paying the tariffs. The consumers will not pay tariffs and the cost of the tariffs. But that's not the case, because the guy that's in charge over there with all the things that are happening with the tariffs, not Trump, but there's another guy. Well, Trump is ultimately, the buck stops with Trump. But I forget, Witkoff, I think his name is, and I'm sure I forget what his position is, but Witkoff, I think, said today that, yes, the consumer does bear some of the costs of the tariffs. And this is why Trump made the threat to Walmart that they needed to eat the costs of the tariffs, and that the American people are watching. And if you don't eat those costs, you made a whole bunch of money last year. He said, you made a whole bunch of money, so you need to eat the costs, billions and billions of dollars. It's just the way it is. And if you don't, we're watching you. Like, really? What about all the other businesses? What about the mid-sized businesses and the mom and pop businesses that depend on things coming from China? How are they going to make it? That's a tax on them too, right? Are they going to eat the cost? There's not a huge margin. There's not that big of a margin there. Hello? So I just wanted to get back on and promote the blazingpress.com website again, once again, as well. For those who don't know, we have blazingpress.com, and we're posting articles, etc. over there. If you haven't already found out about blazingpress.com, you might want to check it out. Here's what it looks like here. And we post all the articles and updates of everything right there. So you can check it out whenever you get a chance, bookmark it, and make sure you hang out there with all the breaking news, as well as our Telegram page. And I'm sure you're going to be kept up to speed on all the details of the deeper dive on the news, right? And also make sure you connect with us on our the BP Ministry channel, Blazing Press Ministry channel on YouTube. Make sure you go over there and subscribe and enable all the alerts. And if you don't get alerts for some reason, YouTube doesn't alert you, the best way to do it is, first of all, when you do subscribe, make sure it says all. You got to subscribe, and then you got to hover and make sure that it says all notifications, because the key is all notifications. If you don't do that, you might not get notified when we go live. But if you really want to make sure you're getting notified at all times, do redundant backups. Get on our Telegram page. It'll be connected right to your phone. Get on, hello, Jeffrey. Get on your locals page if you got locals, or Patreon. You can be a free follower over there on Patreon. You can also support us if you'd like. That would be also helpful. We definitely need as many supporters regularly. We do get help every once in a while from people that are, and I say not once in a while, but like periodically, but not regular helpers. We need people that are going to stand behind us on a monthly basis. That would be very nice. If you really understand and agree with the mission of Blazing Press, get with us, stand with us. And if you're benefiting from this, you definitely want to promote it by helping us out, because others also need to hear what you're getting, right? If you're benefiting from it and you think it should be spread far and wide, then support it. That's what I would say, because you never know, it could go away one day if it doesn't get the support. Now, we're viewer supported. We're not corporate anymore. We used to be corporate. We're not corporate. We pulled back from all that because we didn't want the message to be compromised. And you know how compromise goes very, very easily if you're dependent on the almighty dollar. Now, I'm not saying that we don't need almighty dollars, and I don't think they're almighty, by the way. I think the almighty is the almighty, and he can shower us with whatever we need at any time. So I have no doubt that he's going to do it. But we don't follow after the powers of this world. We are committed, and our faith is in God alone. So anyways, let's get back to the news here. I'm going to go ahead and go through our feed here of recent news articles here that we can check out. And I'm kind of digging this software, by the way, because it is pretty cool, a little easier than what we had going before. And I don't know what just happened there, but I think I did. Okay, yep, that's all right. So it's okay. Here we go. Now, what happened there? Okay, there we go. So we got flipped around on that one. Okay, so we've got all right, I was just kind of looking at something there. China begins assembling its supercomputers in space. Now, this is, I don't know this technology. I'm sure that the United States is doing something similar. That would probably be the space. What happened? Why did it disappear? Hold on 1 second here. Let's try that again. Did my thing go out there? What happened? Okay. I guess I just had to do it again. Okay, so it says the satellites are part of an ADA Spaces Star Compute program, and this is in China, the first of what it calls the three-body computing constellation. The company writes, each of the 12 satellites has an onboard 8 billion parameter AI model and is capable of 744 tera operations per second, or TOPS, a measure of their AI processing grunt. And collectively, ADA Space says that they can manage 5 PETA operations per second, or POPs. That's quite a bit more than, say, the 40 TOPS required for a Microsoft Copilot PC. The eventual goal is to have a network of thousands of satellites that achieve 1,000 POPs, according to the Chinese government. Now, all of these terms are probably alien to most of us, but really, this is a huge amount of computing and data and space that's required to process that data. So, to house that data, I should say. But man, I'm telling you, what's going on is absolutely, it is a digital arms race, and it is an AI arms race. This is all AI based, not only quantum computing, but AI driven quantum computers that are literally taking over the world. They are, I mean, it's absolutely crazy what's going on. Now, this is the reason I posted our thumbnail here on our lead feed here on YouTube, was because I believe that Trump is pressing he's pressing the narrative, and it may be a lot of, WWE, what I call fake kind of theater. There may be some reality to it at the same time, but it's mostly fake. I mean, professional wrestlers that are out there with the WWE do get hurt. They do get bloodied. They do get things hit over their head. So it does at times cross over into the reality of what's really going on. But what I see happening here is that you got this event that just happened today with Joe Biden announcing that his cancer was pretty much terminal, saying that it had gotten into his bones, that he's metastasized. I think he said, was it prostate cancer? I think it was. Now, when you make an announcement like that, it's pretty much telling the world that you don't have that much time to live. Okay, not much time to live, not much time to get prosecuted, especially if Trump is posting stuff like this and confirming that, yes, and this may be the reason why Guantanamo Bay was in the news recently, and also Rikers Island being taken over by the government, not to mention the reestablishment of Alcatraz. I mean, what is this? Is this like theater or what? Or is this reality? Is he really going to turn into a true, authoritarian leader? I'll just say leader. One of the ones in the crosshairs obviously is Obama, because Obama crossed Trump big time at many different junctures along the way to his rise to power. In fact, a lot of why he's doing what he's doing is probably because of his hatred toward Obama and Obama making fun of him. And he did come out against Obama in the beginning, back in 2014-15, about Obama's birth certificate not being legit, which it probably wasn't. Like I said, Trump channeled the right's feelings, emotions, and thoughts. That's why I was on board with him, because he did such a great job. And, he is an entertainer. He does know marketing. He does know how to tap into the common feel for what people are thinking. Obviously, the vices of humanity as well, whether it's gambling or women or whatever, he's able to exploit masterfully and appeal to your ego and pride. So don't be deceived by the golden dawn and the bright future that we have ahead of us, because it could be that whole idea of peace and security. When they say to you, peace and security, behold, sudden destruction will come upon you as a woman in travail, and you will not escape. And so maybe this is kind of the prelude to something much worse happening, is what I'm saying. You can have all your hopes and your dreams, placed in Trump, and wish him the best and pray for him to accomplish this great goal of making our country great again. The great America, America the Great. The word great is very interesting because it's used biblically, especially in terms of the last day kingdom and those prophecies of the great, not only the great whore of Babylon the Great, great. And you think of Alexander the Great too. Trump likened himself to Alexander the Great as well. But you have to really take note of all the messaging that's going on below the surface. But anyway, this is all roads lead to Obama. And then it says, read truth if you want public military tribunals. Now, this, like I said, was a big red stake, being waved in front of the MAGA movement, especially if they're getting distracted with any disillusionment and or are taken back by a little bit of the excesses of Trump, and or possibly even the talk that's going on in even evangelicals are talking about it, about Trump's potential of being the candidate that could not just be the Nobel Peace Prize winner, but also the prime candidate for the Antichrist. Because it seems to line up so perfectly with prophecy. If you haven't noticed, Pam Bondi is now saying that federal prosecutors, this is an interesting thing because this is also coinciding with what's going on with this retruth or retweet of Trump about prosecuting former high-level government officials, including former presidents. Look at what she did. Pam Bondi is pushing to give federal prosecutors the power to indict members of Congress without needing approval from the DOJ's public integrity section. Now, it's called the PIN. The PINs, I guess they call it the PINs, public integrity, something. Reports indicate that Attorney General Pam Bondi is considering a proposal that would significantly alter the Justice Department's oversight of prosecutions against members of Congress. So they're going to basically relax all of those checks and balances that were instituted right during or after the Watergate scandal, right? So they're going to pull that back. It's going to be basically unleash the hounds. It's going to unleash the dogs on all this quote unquote criminal activity and corruption that has preceded. So this is going to be a big show, I'm sure, if it does happen. But will it be a distraction of other things that are happening in the shadows, or will it be overtaken by some global event? Maybe Trump's bringing peace to the world. Maybe there is going to be that hail of peace for a period of time while the heavy hand of justice comes down. Everybody's afraid of the justice. But everybody is worthy of death, right? If you really look at the scriptures, everybody is under condemnation if they're not right with Christ. So judgment is an equal opportunity, blind. According to God's standard, it's blind, and it will be equal opportunity for those who come across as their righteousness is above others. Pharisaical righteousness is not going to absolve you from God's judgment. It doesn't matter how much you think you know or how much you have been positioned and put in a place of power over others. You are going to have to answer to God's justice in the end, criminal justice from the Most High, whether or not you were a part of the rebellion, whether or not you truly received forgiveness in your heart of hearts and your nature was altered. That's the only way you're going to make it. I don't care how outwardly good you may portray yourself or cloak yourself, your altruistic motives for justice. God sees the heart and whether or not you've truly received forgiveness and cleansing from your inherent sin. We're all bound to sin. Every one of us. There's a scripture that says this. Some men's sins go out before them, and that would be like the criminals, those who are obviously truly corrupt and evil. And then there's some men's sins that come trailing behind. So some are able to cloak their sins with an angel of light kind of, persona, and some don't. Some obviously are just right out front. Here's your wickedness. They're just downright evil, and you can see it. But some come as an angel of light, but they're still demons lurking in those dark hearts. So Pam Bondi is considering this proposal. Here's the breakdown. Current system: the Justice Department's Public Integrity Section plays a crucial role in reviewing and approving prosecutions of public officials, including members of Congress. This Watergate-era act acts as a safeguard to ensure that such prosecutions are not publicly or politically motivated and are legally sound. The proposed change that they're wanting now is that they would eliminate the requirements for federal prosecutors to obtain approval from Penn before indicting members of Congress. So no checks and balances. Let's just go ahead and do this free for all. Let's just make it a lynch mob. That'll be awesome. This would grant Trump-appointed U.S. attorneys the power to bring corruption charges against lawmakers without centralized oversight. Furthermore, the proposal suggests that investigators and prosecutors might not need to consult with Penn during key stages of investigations into public officials. The potential implications. Critics argue that this change could potentially lead to an increase in politically motivated prosecutions, especially given the current polarized political climate. The Public Integrity Section role as an ethical watchdog would be diminished, raising concerns about the impartiality of prosecutions against public officials. It's important to note that the DOJ spokesperson confirmed that the proposal is under review, but no final decision has been made. The potential change has sparked debate about the balance between prosecutorial independence and the need for safeguards against political influence in the justice system. That didn't seem to stop the Democrats from doing what they did to Trump, even though, this might have been a part of the theater, because as they say, any other person would have never escaped this type of onslaught of political, what they call lawfare. Who could have ever gotten away and escaped this type of lawfare except Trump? And as I told everybody, when he was in the thick of the lawfare, and many just wrote him off as not even going to win against Kamala Harris. I mean, you had big tech giants and the leaders of those companies going with Kamala Harris and endorsing her. If they knew that Trump was going to win, they would have never endorsed Kamala Harris. They would have just waited it out and or potentially even paid off both of them silently so that they wouldn't look like idiots when they had to up and go back to the other side. That's like what happened with Facebook. Zuckerberg and Bezos had to come back and kiss the ring and bow down and ask for forgiveness and penance and please, King, forgive me. You know, I went to the dark side without understanding what was really happening. But anywho, that's that. And this is interesting. China's first aerial mothership, Huintian SS UAV, is scheduled for its maiden flight in June. This thing can cruise at 15,000 meters high, carrying over 100 small drones. These are not small drones. These are drones, but they're not really small. They're a lot bigger than what you think. And it says, or 100 kilograms of missiles. These drones can be armed, right? So you're talking about hundreds, I think more likely in the hundreds of drones. And it says with a range of 7,000 kilometers. Can you imagine? 7,000 kilometers? These things can go very, very far. If you see the video of this, it's obviously a simulation, but the reality is that they have these types of weapons getting ready to launch, getting ready to become real world. And what do we have? Do we have something equal that we can also make war with? And these are probably going to be AI directed as well. AI directed weapons, smart weapons, as they call them. You know, the world is definitely changing at warp speed. After months of falsely claiming that foreign countries pay the tariffs, the Treasury Secretary Bessent finally admits it's actually consumers who do. Quote, some costs may get passed on to consumers. It's not something that we didn't already know. I knew it. You knew it. But dummies out there that listen to everything that Trump says believed. They were trusting the plan. And now it's going to come home in pain, especially on small businesses. Even with this diminished tariff, doled out to most countries, still there, it's become lessened in its amounts, but China still has a 35% tariff, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you remember this video, but I got this chronicled there where Biden said he had cancer in 2022. But he blamed it on his younger days when he lived in Scranton, Illinois. I guess it was at Scranton, Illinois, or Scranton, Delaware. I think it's Delaware. And he said that oil would come out of the sky in the rain. And he said everybody had cancer. It's an interesting video. This was in 2022 when he said this. He sounded somewhat more coherent in this video too than he does, or he had recently had sounded. But there you go on that. You might check that out. We did a live stream earlier today about this. This was an interesting article. 200 plane passengers were in flight without a pilot. Usually these big jets have two pilots, right? A captain and a co-pilot, a co-captain, or whatever they call them. Well, one of the pilots went to the bathroom and the other pilot passed out or collapsed. COVID related? Can you imagine? And the pilot that went to the bathroom was in there for 10 minutes and the plane was flying all by itself with no pilot for 10 minutes. Yeah, you got to check that out. That's crazy. Crazy. That's why I don't like flying. That's why I wouldn't want to fly at this point anyway. I'll just be teleported like Philip. I'll just ask God to teleport me. Iran will keep enriching uranium. Now listen to this closely. Iran will keep enriching uranium with or without a deal. This is what the Iranians have said. Now listen to this in light of what Trump has recently stated today. Trump did make some statements about this as well. So there's this tit for tat in the news because what it looks like is that Trump, this is what I'm gathering, that Trump is making deals without really telling the countries that he's dealing with out in the public forum so that they hear it and they either adjust accordingly or they make a statement and say, hey, we never even had a conversation with him about this. Because this is what China did. This is what Iran has said. Both of them have said that Trump is making statements that they never even were given official proposals for, that he just made the statement that this is what was happening and that this is what they agreed to when they really didn't even agree to it. It's like, what? So it says Iran will keep enriching uranium. The Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Arqachi says that Washington's demands are far removed from the reality of the nuclear negotiations and, quote, we will continue uranium enrichment. Now, this is what Trump said today. Trump had said, well, the Iranian Supreme Leader says that Trump lied about wanting peace. This comes after Trump announced that the U.S. had presented Iran with a nuclear deal proposal and said that Tehran, quote, needs to move fast or something bad will happen. The other day, Trump said that Iran could either have us become violent with them or nonviolent in our negotiations. And we would much rather choose the nonviolent path. And it was very curt and very direct and very coldly stated by Trump in his own voice. I don't know if you heard it. It's just chilling to think of where this is going because the Iranians are not backing down. Okay, the Iranians are not giving in, and they're not going along with Trump's statements of what supposedly they agreed to when they didn't even make an agreement. The same thing went for China as well. But, you know, Trump is leveraging all of this with his recent trip in the Middle East and all the fanfare and all the pomp in the ceremony and the lifting up of this great, powerful leader because the Middle East was abuzz, that Trump is now hailed as one of the great power. And I think what's happening is the Middle East is hoisting up Trump and showering him with all of this money because they know that he's going to lead the charge against Israel at a certain point. You say, how can that be when Israel was hailing him as their Messiah not too long ago, as someone that would ultimately facilitate the rebuilding of the third temple, et cetera, et cetera? Well, Trump is going to take over Gaza. The Israelis aren't going to have it, even though they're bombing it into oblivion right now and saying that they're going to possess it. They're making these statements in the last 24 hours that they're going to possess it. You know why? Because they know Trump said he's going to take it. And he's going to parcel it out to the highest Middle East bidders, including countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. And they're going to make it a Riviera by the a Riviera in the Mediterranean, with Trump Tower, golden money flying everywhere, and dancing bearded belly dancers on the beach while he sips pina coladas with an AI image of Netanyahu and a bunch of Trump idols everywhere. And you see Trump idols everywhere, remember? So they're going to take this, and it's interesting because if you look at Daniel chapter, I think it's chapter 11. I was just talking about 11 or maybe it's 14. And I believe it's verses 45, 11:45, I think it is. It talks about how, and I mentioned this a couple times, but I want to make sure that I get it on the record again. I was talking to my wife one day about the whole idea that Antichrist would be in the Middle East, that he would have to be a global player. He would have to be someone that moves away, if it truly was a U.S. president, that this global leader that would become the candidate would have to have an international feel, and he would have to exert great influence over other countries, including the Middle East, and that he would also have to have some kind of a base near Israel, because the end time scenario, as defined and as chronicled in the book of Revelation and other books like Daniel, show that the Antichrist is actually confronting the return of Christ in the location, proximity of the Jerusalem of Israel. Okay, so that would have to be something that would be set up in a certain way for that to happen, right? And it was right after I told my wife this, that it was within days, if not even less than days. It wasn't even a week. It was within days. Pops out the news, comes out in the news that Trump is wanting to take over Gaza, and they're going to establish some kind of, and then that video came out with the Trump Gaza thing where it shows his tower. Well, if you look at Daniel chapter 11, verses 45, I think it's 11. Let me see. Let me make sure that this is it. Is this it? Yeah. So this is all about the end time beast Antichrist. That's going to, many scholars and prophecy teachers or those who study prophecy would say this refers to that end time controlling influence over the globe that will make war and try to, withstand the return of the Lord Jesus, right? So here's what it says. I'm going to show you right now. Okay, where's my feed here? Okay, here we go. So check this out. Right here it says, and you can read the whole passage in connection with the ancient civilizations that you could actually find on the map today that would represent the current powers that are arrayed against Israel and are staging. I believe this is a big staging operation that's unfolding in the Middle East right now. But it says here, he will pitch his royal tents between the seas at the beautiful holy mountain, yet he will come to his end and no one will help him. So this is talking about royal tents between the seas at the holy beautiful mountain. So between the Mediterranean and between the holy mountain is Gaza. Okay, so this whole area is slated, according to biblical prophecy, for his royal tents or his royal palaces or his royal towers or whatever, this Riviera by the Mediterranean that he's going to parcel out to, all of these powerful, rich leaders. And you could see the giddiness on Mohammed bin Solomon's face and the connection that they made about, they were just basically saying best friends forever. I mean, pinky swear, best friends forever. I mean, did you see that? Trump made that statement. He is going to always be with me and he will never leave. Did you hear him say that? I mean, that's like, what? I mean, just the way Trump said it. And if you listen to the way he says it, it's just like creepy. It's creepy. But anyways, so getting back to the feed here. Moody's is a credit rating company that rates countries, I guess, and their credit. They downgraded the U.S. credit rating today. We've been basically stripped of our top-notch AAA credit rating on concerns of rising levels of government debt. And by the way, did you know that Trump increased the national debt more than any other president? Probably Obama was close, but Trump in his 4-year term did almost as much, if not more, than Obama did in his 8-year term. Did you know that? Just saying. But then again, Trump's good at claiming bankruptcy, so maybe that's what he's planning on doing. Claiming bankruptcy and a win, because that's what they asked him, was what happened? Did you claim bankruptcy so many times on all your businesses? Well, I made money. I made money at it. Oh, you made money on your bankruptcy? That's amazing. How does that happen? You got to be me. You got to be me. I'm not exactly sure how that happens, but it happens with Trump. Witkoff says that we have one very, very clear red line, and that is enrichment. This is about Iran. We cannot allow even 1% of enrichment capability. We've delivered a proposal to Iran that we think addresses some of this without disrespecting them. We think we'll be meeting sometime this week in Europe. But Iran's foreign minister said in response to Witkoff's remarks are completely detached from the reality of the negotiations. Uranium enrichment will continue in Iran. If the United States continues to make unrealistic demands, it is only natural that there won't be an agreement. So is America about to go to war with Iran? Israel is preparing the Golden Chariots, or the Gideon's Chariots, I should say, the Gideon's Chariots operation, they call it, against Hamas in the Gaza. They're bombing everything down to the very foundation now. They're destroying everything in its pathway. Civilians not included, or included, I should say. I don't know if you saw the video that we posted of the hospital. There's normally a webcam that shows the footage of people in live stream that are standing out in front of the hospital. And usually it's pretty packed with women and children, people that are sick, the elderly. But anyways, the Israelis just dropped a bunker buster bombs, like 9 of them in that whole complex, because they said that there was a high-level Hamas leader hiding underneath the hospital. But collateral damage, be it what it may, they got their guy, right? But you see it on the live stream when these bombs come in, how all these people are just basically, they hear it coming in. They literally, you can see all the people looking up right before the bomb hits. It's just absolutely horrifying to see. But we posted that in case you wanted to see it, but we did blur it out. And by the way, if you missed this meeting today at the BP devotional meeting on the BP Ministry channel, you have to go back and listen to it. Very, very important. How many of you guys were there at the devotional meeting today? Tell me it wasn't a great meeting. It was an awesome meeting, and you have to make up for it if you missed it. Definitely go back and check it out. You will be thankful that you did. Your spiritual life will be enriched, and you will be much happier, prosperous. All I got to do is promise that you'll have prosperity and everybody will show up. You'll be prosperous. But it's not the prosperity that you're thinking. Who knows, though? It does affect, it may affect the bottom line, too. Trump's new logo for his new reform mob swamp. What is that? Scott, you were there? Awesome. That's awesome. Montana has officially banned the production sale of lab-grown meat. Just like Florida has banned chemtrailing the skies. Amazing, isn't it? You got a few states that actually have a little common sense. Now, I can't wait till all the states adopt it. You would wonder why Trump wouldn't want to reverse that if he truly had the interest of the majority of those who are conservative and or MAGA people, because that's all they talk about is stuff like this. But that should have been the first thing on his agenda, right? For health and well-being. Putin stuns the U.S., rejects 22-point U.S.-Ukraine peace plan. Won't see Witkoff. U.S. seeks U.S.-Russia summit. I'm going to find out more about this in the next 24 hours, and I will report on that finding. But I suspect that this is very accurate on what's happening right now. So, yep. 1 dead and 4 hurt in Palm Springs car explosion. That was pretty amazing, the details that were around that. Now, what I had heard from the law enforcement after the fact, this was today, I was listening, they said that it was most likely a suicide, that somebody went in there to commit suicide. At this point, the person that died was probably the guy that was in the car or possibly outside the car when the car was detonated. And they say that he, they have his, excuse me, the location. They were going through his residence, and they're possibly going to find some kind of a letter. They're thinking that he probably didn't care about covering his tracks if he knew he was going to commit suicide. So they're getting all of his social media, his computers, and everything to find out exactly what the real reason is. I wonder if we're going to find out for sure what really is going on there. The Mexican ship that hit the bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, that was kind of interesting. 2 people actually died on that. And I did see 2 people dangling from the mast that looked like they were lifeless. And I was wondering if they were dead, but it does look like 2 people actually died. 19 people were wounded, 2 of them very severely. So 2 severely wounded people and 2 actually died. The reason why the ship was drifting backwards was because it had lost power. You would think that the people that were hanging out up on the mast would have realized that it was careening toward the bridge and tried to get down. Yeah, Jeff, the latest robots definitely do look human. It is true. They look human. They have human facial features and emotions and even skin, which is very chilling. You know, it was funny because I was looking at YouTube. I think it was YouTube, or maybe it was Roku. I'm not sure what channel it was on, if it was one of the other channels, but that we subscribe to. But World War Z popped up. Did you ever see World War Z, where all these zombies are basically had some kind of It was some kind of virus or something. And I've never seen the movie, but I wanted to go back and watch it. But it was something to do with a virus that turned everybody into zombies. Did you see that? That was absolutely crazy. I was just watching little parts here and there on it, and I thought, wow, what an interesting movie. I think I want to see what is being, messaged there. Interesting messaging going on there. Wouldn't you say? If I have any problems with my mic, let me know, because sometimes I get a little short in my mic there. I'm not exactly sure why. Are you guys all having a good time? I hope everything's going well with you. Let's see what we got going on here. Let's see what else we got going on here. This was the main thing. Now this was very troubling. This is Trump reposting a video, an AI video of himself playing the piano to a crowd of people, and the song is Journey. Just a small town boy living in a lonely world. You took the midnight train. He sings that song, right? He's basically pretending the AI is showing him playing the piano, because this is a song has a lot of piano in it. Journey. Well, Journey, the guy who is married to Paula White, supposedly Trump's mentor and spiritual mentor. I mean, look at this. Why would Trump post this of himself? I just think it's such a new low. I mean, look at the I don't know if you saw that part right there, but it literally shows through his shirt, like he's got man boobies that are drooping down, and it looks like he's a little bit hefty. Not too flattering. I don't know if he actually saw that. Maybe he didn't pay close attention, but Trump literally reposted it. I go back and I check to make sure he did repost it. This is a legitimate post. This is not photoshopped. This is not a photoshopped retweet or whatever he calls it, a repost, a retruth. I mean, I don't know if he's just trying to relive his youth, wanting to feel like he's young again. I mean, he seems to be posting a lot of this type of stuff where he's got young girls. Oh, he just loved it when all those young girls were floating their hair around like the palm fronds of the triumphal entry of Jesus. It was almost like that. It reminded me when he was coming into the UAE palace, where they were all just, I mean, it was just pomp and ceremony like never before. The Al Jazeera channel, the news channel of the Middle East, very, very prominent channel, said that it was a raw display of extreme power, that this presentation was done for the purpose of presenting power. The way they said it, it was just really weird. But Trump needs this. He's got a huge, very large, very special ego. He needs this. He needs this praise. He needs this image of himself. And if anybody makes him look bad, he's going to come and get you. But anyways, I guess that's about it for tonight. That's the report, late night hangout with Robert. Another one for the books. Make sure you thumbs up the video, share it everywhere you can. Get behind our channel and support what we're doing. Jeff, okay, so I'm going back. I figured, okay, somebody probably posted. Jeff Poor, thank you very much. Remember, Jesus is King. Thank you, thank you. He is King. King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Amen. I agree very much. I hope you're all having a great night, a good sleep. Everybody get a good rest. Be prepared for tomorrow's devotional. Don't miss it. And be hanging out with us live on our broadcast. We're going to try to do them at 6 p.m. when we can. They will be done on 6 p.m. So you be looking for us around 6 p.m. But, like off nights, one-offs like tonight, we're going to be late. We might do something later at night. People in the archives will catch it. So in the meantime, the Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you, and give you shalom. A great peace that passes all understanding from the true Prince of Peace, the true mighty God and everlasting Father, whose shoulders the government will rest upon. That would be Jesus. There's no second. Nobody comes even close to Jesus. Amen. All right, guys. God bless, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.